Hi guys, welcome back. So what I did was I let it dry, and then I went in with another coat of the same sort of colours and just added a bit more sort of pattern to it. Gave it a sort of like just dabbing effect to make it like with clouds and stuff like that with the different colours. So our light pink, our darker pink, the light blue and the darker blue. And then all I did was I went through the actual some of it and just added in a bit more black as well. Um, so what we'll do now is I'll just show you how to sort of add some of the highlights just to make some of these like galaxy sort of cloud bits stand out. So wherever you want, just add in a little bit of white on your brush and just sort of follow some of those little sort of cloud patterns. And you ain't going to do the whole thing, you just giving a little bit of sort of detail just so it stands out. And again, you don't have to do this. There's just something, if you really want to do like a space background that stands out so that it's not just all plain black, and there's a lot more going on, then I thought I'd show you how to do this. I'll show you in a second just how to do the stars and how to do the planets as well. But as you can see, it's starting to sort of show up now a little bit more, giving it a bit more definition, just going in with this white and just adding in a little bit more sort of pattern to it. And again, just change it as you go. If you do something like this, I mean, you don't have to use these colors. You could use like greens and yellows, maybe orange or something, and reds if you want it for like the deep space, you know, where the center of the universe type thing is. I'll put a few more in just so you get the rough idea of it. So yeah, so you've got that sort of basic idea. So what we're going to do now is like I said, I'll show you how to do the stars. Now, most people, when they do stars, they think just grab a brush and then just sort of dab it on, like with a bit of white, which, okay, might look okay, but I'm going to show you a little technique to sort of basically make it a little bit easier for you. It's a little trick. So all you're going to do is you take your brush, dab it in some water, tiny little bit of white on there. Don't want to overload the brush. You want a brush that's got sort of hard bristles on it. If it's soft bristles, it's not really going to work. And all you're going to do is you're just going to put your brush near to your canvas. Obviously, with this sort of thing, I've done the background just as the background with your character and stuff. Obviously, you do your character first, and then do your background afterwards. So what I'm going to show you now, you would cover your character up with like a bit of paper or something, because you don't want him, once you've already sort of drawn it all out, to get splattered with white paint. So all you're going to do is take your brush, take the bristles, and there's two ways of doing it. I'll just do it with my finger, but you can sort of bang it on another brush as well. But you just sort of take your bristles and you just sort of flick. And hopefully you can see that that's showing up on the actual canvas. If I move it down a bit more, and again, the closer you are to your canvas doing this, then the more control you will have of how many sort of stars. So it's giving it like a splatter effect basically. So we're not just sort of dabbing it on. We will do a few in a second, just where we dab just to sort of give it a bit more definition, but some of these stars are sort of further back, and it's up to you how many you do. I wouldn't overload it with stars, but yeah, if I sort of pull it up further, you can see that it just sort of splatters anywhere, whereas if you go closer, you can put it where you want basically. So hopefully you can see that sort of showing up on the camera. I will leave this canvas in the school so that, you know, the classes can have a look at it and just see what it comes out like, so that you can see it sort of firsthand. Yeah. So again, nice simple way of doing stars, because everything that you're going to be doing background wise, your character is going to be the main focal point. So your character is going to be the main thing in your picture. So if we put loads of big stars around him and we have a small character, the eye is going to be looking at the stars or planets or whatever, or, you know, buildings. We want the character to be the biggest thing in there, and then everything else is just sort of right in the background. So if I add in a couple more, and again, there's no right or wrong with how many you put on. I would just say don't go too crazy putting loads of stars in, because it'll just look a bit weird after a while. So yeah, that's how you do your stars. Then what you can do for sort of a couple of, like, we did like planets off in the distance. So if we put one over here, you can just sort of dab with a bit of white paint. Take your finger, just give it a little bit of a smudge like that. Sort of smudge it in a bit more if you want. And then come back in and give it that. It's probably because the canvas is still a bit wet, but you just sort of dab it in there, and then maybe another one sort of over here. So you've got the littler ones, and then every now and again you just got like a little a larger one than what you've been doing. And then sort of when this dries, you can just sort of go around it with a little bit of light wet white paint, just sort of smudge it a little bit, and it'll give it that sort of glow effect. So I'll put a couple of those on there so that you can see it as well. But obviously the canvas is wet now. What I'll do now is I'll just quickly show you how to do the planets. And all you need for this, guys, you can do it with a brush, or you can do it with like a sponge. This is a sponge attached to a brush handle. So you just take your brush, dab it in the white or whatever color you want to do your planet, and then you're just gonna sort of dab, and it'll come out. Really, on your first lot, you want to really sort of just hardly, well, don't keep going back into the paint basically. Take one lot of your color and then just sort of push it round. Now, as I said in the other videos, when you're doing your background, if your character's sort of flying out at us, if you're doing a space sort of setting for your background, then I would put like a planet in the corner. It breaks up your picture a little bit basically, rather than just having one big circle there that we're saying is the sun or the earth or the moon. If we have one in the corner, it looks more dynamic if your character's sort of flying out. Again, you can have another one in the middle. You could even put another one up in the corner. I wouldn't put one in the same corner as the one. If you put one at the bottom, don't put one up above it in the top corner. Sort of go to the other corner. So yeah, as you can see, giving it that sponge effect really gives it that sort of moon sort of feel to it. I would say as the further you get back to your planet, then I would say make it a little bit more darker. So if I did that as the moon, I'll put in a little bit more white. And then just take your brush, just grab a decent brush. Alright, bear with me. Yeah, so then you just sort of go over it, take some whatever colour your planet is. You want it to be sort of more lighter around this edge. So just take your time with this and just sort of drag your thing around your brush. You might need to sort of go back in again. Again, all this paint that is being used for this is the paint that you'll be using, so it's not anything different. The brushes are the same, the canvas is the same, the paint's the same, so and really sort of take your time with that. Obviously, if you were doing, you know, like the sun or something, then you'd go in with a yellow and that. I did that as like a moon. So again, you can just sort of take a white, you can add in a little bit of blue if you want, and you can just sort of dab it in. Again, just with a brush, or you can do it with a brush. It's easier with like a spongy, you know, just doing it by wood sponge, just because you can get that real sort of mix.